Good evening, and I selected chapter 4. That was probably my favorite chapter, and that was on mindfulness and leadership excellence. And the reason I picked it is because I really enjoyed learning about the fundamentals of the leadership excellence and really digging into what the four fundamentals meant. And of course, you can see here it's focus, compassion, creativity, and clarity. And of course, I knew what those words meant before I read the chapter and before I studied the course. But to really learn about why a good leader needs to have these four traits was important, and that's why I enjoyed the chapter so much. So, I'm going to discuss each fundamental, and I'm going to give some tips on how to stay focused, how to be creative, what it means to me for someone to be compassionate, and also how important clarity is. Because clarity was the one that I knew what it meant, but I didn't realize how important it was for a leader to have that quality. So, we're going to talk first about focus. And I selected the picture just because I feel like that's my brain sometimes when I'm not focused. It's got a million little wheels going around in it. So I struggle staying focused. So that I feel like that's my brain. So for focus, what it means is being in focus is really just you're paying attention and you're able to concentrate on what's going on around you or what someone is saying to you or what is happening. Staying focused is a growing problem in the workplace and in schools, in colleges, all over because there are so many distractions now and so many things going on and so many opportunities. And being distracted, especially at work, can cause loss of productivity. And some of the main causes of distractions would be someone asking you questions or being distracted by checking social media status, either of posting something that you've created or going and looking to see what someone else is doing. And then, of course, checking email, reading your text messages, or making phone calls because that usually leads to another opportunity. So once you're distracted by one thing, then you move on to the next. So I've listed some tips on how to stay focused, and this is really going to relate to in the workplace, but you could also use this as a student as well. So the first tip is to clear the noise. That could either be clearing out all the thoughts in your brain, or it could be going to a quiet place if you needed to study, or maybe turning off the television, or if music's playing in the background, or if you're somewhere where it's really noisy. So being in a quiet environment where you're not distracted by noise can help you be focused. The next tip is to have a plan. Don't just wing whatever you're trying to work on. Actually plan it out and see how you want it to happen for you. The third tip is to create a routine and be consistent with that routine. If you know that you've got to do something at a certain time or a certain way, and you're consistent on how you do that task and do it the same way, it will become easier and it will help you stay focused better. Be in the moment. Don't multitask. And I'm the world's worst. I multitask all the time. And I find when I do that, I'm kind of just doing a little bit of everything and nothing really gets my 100%. So that is one thing I've been working on to help myself stay focused is to quit multitasking and focus on one thing and, just have some time management and realize what's important, what has to be done first. And then you can follow your other tasks or chores after. So really, if you've got several things to do, just decide, work on your time management and decide what has to be done, what's most important. Another tip is to don't second guess your decisions or your actions. A lot of people waste a lot of time focusing on what they should have done or what they should have said or should I have done this a different way. And the last tip is to accept your mistakes, learn from them, and move on, and hopefully prevent them from happening again. I'm going to move my little video over so you guys can see. Here we go. See my slides. The next element is compassion. And compassion is very important for a leader because compassion is sympathy and concern for the misfortune of others. So a leader who can quickly realize that something is wrong with someone and they can show compassion for them is going to have a lot of respect from their employees if they're able to relate. And leaders who are compassionate, they're empathetic to others, which in turn connects them with other people's feelings. Just this week, I experienced compassion from my principal, who is my boss, and he is a very caring person. I've never had a principal before that really, they were always nice to me, but never really acted concerned about anything outside of school, like as far as my family's concerned. But my dad recently had surgery last week, and he had some complications. So I had to suddenly leave work, and I let my principal know I was leaving so he could get someone to cover for me. And I had to go take my dad back to the hospital and get him admitted again. So it was a really hectic day for me. I was very worried about my dad. So my principal was concerned about my well-being. So later that evening, I get a text message from him just simply saying, "Are you okay? Is your dad okay? We're praying for you." And that just meant the world to me, that he cared enough. And it was, at 8 o'clock on Wednesday night, that he cared enough to, check on me and check on my dad. And so I thought about this class, and I thought, he's a good leader because he shows compassion. And people have that basic need. They want to feel special. They want to know that people care about them. So just from my own personal experience, I feel like my principal showed compassion towards me and my family. And a good leader will act on the feeling of care and empathy. Clarity. This one was my favorite. I'll move up here now. Hi. So clarity is the basic definition is just being clear and easy to understand. And I think clarity, like I said before, is very important. A great leader will be able to give directions that are easily understood and will be consistent, and people will be able to know what they want done. Leaders should always be clear about what they expect from their employees, and they should learn with their employees and know that they do understand what is expected. And communication is key to achieving clarity in the workplace, whether it's communication through email, memos, face-to-face conversation, or a phone call. But you must be able to talk to your employees as a leader in a clear and understandable manner. Mistakes happen quite frequently when a leader has not been clear, and or if they're not available, if they miss a lot of work and they're not available to answer questions. And as a classroom teacher, I try to be very, very clear on my directions. I usually back up my directions. I use Google Classroom, and so whatever I've said in class, I always have a backup of what I've said posted in my Google Classroom to my students. That way there's no questions asked. They understand what's expected, what our objectives are in our lessons, and how I expect the lessons to be done. I also like to use rubrics in my classroom, especially on multimedia projects. That way they know how I'm going to be grading before they even start the project. So clarity as a teacher, I feel, is very, very important, but also it's important to be practiced in a workplace environment as well as the classroom. Creativity. This one is probably my most difficult because I'm not a creative person. I guess you could say I like to kind of be told what to do instead of just figuring it out. But as a classroom teacher, I do have to be creative a lot, and sometimes I feel like I could improve on that. But creativity is basically just being able to use your imagination and turn your ideas into reality. And a leader who is creative can move an organization forward with new and innovative ideas. Of course, you must think outside the box to establish creativity. And a leader must be willing to accept failure when ideas don't really go their way. But that's where a good leader, they take a risk and they go with it. And if they make a mistake, they learn from it and they move on. So, here we go. All right, so I found these tips for being creative in the workplace, and I like these. There were several on the website where I found these, but I kind of just picked a few instead of listing them all, and these were the ones that I thought were pretty cool. The first one, try standing up instead of sitting down when you're having meetings. Because if someone's standing, they're not going to get bored as easy. And, just break it up, be different. The second one I thought was neat was to get inspired. Find something that you can hang on your wall that might inspire you, whether it be like a crazy menu you saw somewhere, or a funny email someone sent you, or a poster that makes you happy. The third one is to make friends at work, make connections, establish rapport with people you work with. Find some kind of common ground to where you look forward to going to work, to seeing the people that make you happy and that you have common interests with. And that will build on your creativity as well. Number 4, don't just think about doing something. Don't think that's a great idea. Do it. Even if you mess up, try it anyway. And number 5, ban things that are negative. That could either be maybe hanging around a negative person, or if there's certain words that you don't like, quit using them. If there's a song that is negative that makes you unhappy, don't listen to it. Get the negativity out of your life. And the last one, this is my favorite, is to go outside. Even if it's freezing cold, step outside for a few minutes. If you have to work inside all day, find a reason to go outside. I'm in a school all day, but the school I teach at, we are a K through 12 school. So we have several different buildings on our campus. And I'm also the yearbook advisor, so I kind of use that as an excuse sometimes during my planning or at lunch, maybe to walk down to the elementary buildings and just check to see if I have any picture orders to be turned in, or if anybody's got any pictures they want to share with me for the yearbook, or I might have like a newsletter to send out. I just try to find a reason to move around a little bit because I get bored in one place. All right, so move on. Okay. So these are the resources that I used. The first one was at themuse.com, and that's where I got ways you can be innovative at work. That was on my tips for being creative. The next was from businessinsider.com, and why employees need you to be clear and have that clarity. The third was from Inc.com, and that was about the tips on staying focused. The next was from AnnieMcKee.com, and this was the one about how important it is for a leader to show compassion. And the last was our textbook, or not textbook, our paperback book that we have for the class, which has been an awesome book, Finding the Space to Lead. So those are my resources, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and have a good evening.